Shall we wait for a few more minutes or we can start, students?
I think we can start. If someone was supposed to join, they will join
Okay,
later.
okay. We can start. Today's topic is nutrition and how it is going to affect the human body, what's us and everything related to nutrition. And later on, we are going to, study the Adulteration Act and everything one by one. So let's start with the basic of nutrition today. Okay. So first of all, thing, what you people understand if I take this word nutrition, what is your understanding related to nutrition? If I talk now, so basic, anyone can just give me a rough review. Ki what is nutrition? Anyone? Both of.
Nutrition is basically the balanced diet, whatever we get into our body for the
Okay.
energy,
Okay.
which need to be converted as like glycogenesis, glucogenesis, and ATP conversations and all everything.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, that's what like way to keep our body fit and fine, healthy, and to work as per the process of physiological process. Like that.
Okay, so as you are aware, ki, a basic I can understand ki you had an idea ki what is the nutrition and why it is requirement of a body. So basically, if I talk, basic related to nutrition, so human body is made up of cell. Okay, and every cell has to perform certain duties, certain works. Okay, and to perform that certain work, to perform certain amount of work, we need certain amount of energy. Okay, and the energy from where we get is our food, and this food is rich in different types of nutritional value. So to carry out our day-to-day performance, to carry out our day-to-day work, we need a different types of nutrition. Okay, so how we are getting this nutrition? Basically, we are getting this nutrition from food. Okay, that contains your carbohydrate, your fats, your vitamins, your minerals, and water. Okay, so basically this is the major, I can say, the chunk of nutrition which we are getting from food or different sources. Once we get this nutrition, what is the body mechanism? Basically, so whatever the food we are getting, basically we are getting in the form of food, and we are taking from the oral cavity. So that is your part of your digestion process. So body includes what all actions, if I talk about related to nutrition, so ingestion, digestion, absorption, transportation, metabolism, and excretion. These are the basic part from where we get the nutrition. Ingestion means that we are getting that food into our body. Okay, so we are eating that food into the oral cavity by chewing and making that food into the bolus, and that bolus is then entering into your this food pipe, basically, if I talk about, or esophagus. In esophagus, what happens? There is a peristalsis movement or wave like contraction and relaxation of the muscle, and then food travels to your stomach. In that stomach, what happens? The initial, if I talk about initial breakdown of your carbohydrates and everything, start into your oral cavity, the initial breakdown of your carbohydrates. Okay, and that proper digestion will take place into certain amount of carbohydrate will digested into your stomach. Rest of the major your digestion process will take place into your intestine. Okay, a small and large intestine. Then from there absorption will take place, and from there it will transport to the different body parts. Okay, and then the metabolism, you call it as glycolysis, glycogenolysis, or glyconeogenesis. A food particle that is either in the form of carbohydrate, either in the form of minerals, either in the form of vitamins, either in the form of water, but how that is converted into the form of a energy. So that glucose, that carbohydrate, that monosaccharide or disaccharide is further break down into the small sugars, and those sugars will convert it into, in the presence of certain enzymes, they will convert it into the form of ATP or other energy forms. Okay, so that is your again another Krebs cycle where we can see ki how this is taking place. Okay, and at the end, whatever the waste material, whatever the waste material, that will be excreted out from the body in the form of urine, in the form of sweat, or in the form of stool. Okay, So this is the basic mechanism which body includes of getting, in the process of getting nutrition. Okay. So now, if I talk about the basic nutrition, wait a minute. Basics of nutrition. So we have carbohydrates, okay, that gives energy. If I classify into the energy giving, so we have a carbohydrate and fats. If you know, if we don't take carbohydrates, then the stored energy, that stored fat, will break down and provide the energy to the body. Okay, so that's why we do intermittent fasting to reduce the weight. So in that time, what happens, we are not taking additional carbohydrate from the outside the body. Whatever the stored fat is utilized to provide the energy, we are doing all day to day activities in regular manner. But how, what we are doing in this process, so the stored adipose energy, or the stored fat which is present into your muscle and into your body, that will break down. Okay, so the normal functionality of a body requires certain basic things. One is your carbohydrate, second is your protein. Other than this, we talk about water. Water is again very important and essential thing, because our body is made up of 60 to 65 or 70% of water. Body weight, if we calculate, so 70% is of water. Okay, so let's start with first start with the carbohydrate. Okay. Hmm. So carbohydrate, as name indicate, it is made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay. So basically, if we classify into the carbohydrates, these are made up of three types of chemical substances. One is your carbon compound, another is your hydrogen, and third is your oxygen. They forms different type of carbohydrates. So basically, there are two categories of carbohydrate. One is your simple sugar, another is your complex sugars. Okay, so simple sugar is basically, we classify it as a monosaccharide or disaccharide. So monosaccharides mein basically we have glucose, we have fructose, we have galactose. Okay, disaccharide contains maltose, lactose, okay, or fructose. So these are the different types of monosaccharides and disaccharides. What is monosaccharide and what is disaccharide? Anyone can explain? Okay. So
Single.
if I talk about monosaccharides, as indicate, it is this mono means one. The single one compound or single one form of either it is a fructose or glucose or galactose, that is one. But disaccharide, what happens when two monosaccharides combine together and form one sugar compound, that is known as your disaccharide. Okay. And one more thing I need to tell you, in this carbohydrate, the ratio of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen is like 1 is to 2 is to 1. Like one carbon compound, two hydrogen compound, and one oxygen compound. This is how they are formed. Okay. So if you're going for further PhD or something, you will get such kind of questions over there. Okay. So now coming to the complex one will be your starch, your fibers. Okay. So as our diet, if I talk about like a Indian diet, we take a rich amount of carbon as well as fibers. Okay. But if we talk related to the US persons, basically there, why we see the rectal cancers are very common, or colon cancers are very common, because their diet lacks in lot of fibers. Okay. So rest of the country, if we compare, the US peoples are more frequent common to such kind of cancers. If I talk about like they had a very frequent chances of getting such cancers. So what is the importance of balanced diet? Everything has its own importance in our day to day life. Okay. If we lack any substance for a very longer duration, like for example, uh, if you have seen cases, if you belong from a medical profile or if you work into any hospital, like kids who are not taking proper amount of roughage or something, you see small intestine obstruction is very common cases amongst the kids. Why this happens? Because they take very fine grained, or we can say this very fine grained or bread or certain food items which are lacking into the fibers and everything. So that's why we are seeing nowadays ki the small intestine obstruction is very common. So you can see ki how diet is causing different kind of disease condition. That's why being a medical professional, we need to have a basic understanding or good understanding related to different nutrition into the body. Okay, so basically there are six classes of nutrients if I divide it into the human system. First is your carbohydrate, second is your lipids. So first is your fat, your energy giving products. Okay, next is your protein and vitamins, minerals and water. Okay, so protein is again required by different body organs for the normal functionality, because the major part of body is made up of proteins, and vitamins and minerals are electrolyte, and everything is important for transportation of everything like your oxygen from here to there. And basic functionalities, if I talk about, vitamin C provide immunity and a lot other functions in your, vitamin B is responsible for B12 is responsible for production of this your iron. Vitamin C is again responsible for absorption of iron. So this is how they are, directly or indirectly taking part into different types of cycles, the chemical cycles which is going into the human body. Okay, so now we have covered the carbohydrate. Now coming one by one to the different. Now, next important thing after the carbohydrate, once we have taken the energy, now proteins. So if I talk about proteins, the human body is majorly made up of your protein substance. That is your carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and so what happens ki these proteins are the source of energy, same time they are building block of your human body. Okay, so different types of amino acids which are present, they are responsible for your body building. Okay, so protein is used for energy only when the carbohydrate is not available as energy sources. Okay, so initially from where we are getting the energy, that is from carbohydrate. But if you're what happens if carbohydrate is not present? Okay, in that scenario, what happens? We can derive the energy from protein sources also. Okay, so carbohydrate is your energy yielding. If I talk about, like, the first is a carbohydrate. Second, I told you we take the energy from the fat stored into the body from there, and lastly we take it from the protein. So this is how we take the energy yielding nutrition. If I talk about, this is how we take. Okay, now what is the requirement needs, so if we divide it in nutrition into the different as per the human body needs, so there is certain amount of things that is known as macronutrient, and there is certain amount of things that is known as micronutrient. As name indicates ki that is relatively needed into the larger amount. The product which we need into the huge quantity or day-to-day functionality of the body is your macronutrients, and the product which we need, the nutritional substances which we need into the smaller amount, or if we skip for a day, it will be, it does not cause a direct impact to the functionality of a body, is known as your micronutrients. Micro is small amount and macro is larger amount. Okay, so macronutrients contain carbohydrate, lipids and protein. All other is coming under your micronutrients. So for example, if I talk about protein, protein is the basic building block of your body, like it will major role into the muscle formation. So you can see your body is how tall, how thick you are, and everything. So your protein, again, to work that body we need a carbohydrate. So that's why you can see a lipid is again, fat is again important part. It provides the cushioning, it provides the heat or temperature maintenance. So again, you can see if we compare, so these nutrients are very important for a day-to-day functionality. For example, if I talk about micronutrients, micronutrients means your vitamins and everything. So certain amount of vitamins are stored into the body. Okay, and certain amount are not, depending upon like water soluble or fat soluble. Okay, further we go into the classification. So it will be like water soluble or fat soluble. So fat soluble will be storable for longer duration of time. If you're not taking on a daily basis, it will be okay. Okay, water soluble also depending upon if it is a deficiency condition of that particular nutrient or that particular vitamin and directly affecting any metabolism directly. In that scenario, it is an urgency. If it is not affecting any metabolism directly, it is not an urgency to take that. Okay, so variation of these macronutrients in our day-to-day life causing different type of disease condition. Okay, so vitamins are again an essential product. Okay, why it is not energy yielding, but it will play in different metabolism in another. For example, I told you okay, how vitamin C is important. Okay, vitamin C is a water soluble substance, so daily we need to take that. It play a very important role into the your this defense mechanism. Second thing, it will play important role into the iron absorption from your intestine. It increases the iron absorption. So whenever we are prescribing any diet, like we say ki iron rich food, so we ask the patient to take lemon. Okay, if we are writing this especially in case of pregnancy, if we are giving iron folic acid to the female, we ask to add lemon. When you're taking this medicine, drink half cup of lemon water or drink half cup of lemon juice with dilute that juice with water, like one lemon or half lemon. So why it is we ask to do that? To increase the maximum absorption from your intestine. Okay. So now coming to your lipids, that is fat and oils. Okay. So fats are your solid products and oils are your liquid products. So they are of again, if you are having a basic understanding, so they are of again two types. That is your saturated and unsaturated. Okay. So saturated means no carbon to carbon double bonds are present. Okay, that is totally into the chemical part if I talk about. Okay, and unsaturated will be carbon to carbon double bonds are present. Okay, so if it is unsaturated, write down one question: what is the impact of saturated and unsaturated lipids on human body? Okay, so whenever we are getting connected for next class, we will have a discussion on that. Okay, how it is going to affect your BLD and your HDL level of cholesterol and everything related to that. So this is related to directly related to your cholesterol level into the human body. Okay, what kind of fats we are taking into the body. Okay, so just have a short note you can prepare so we can have a discussion in next class. Okay, so nutritional goals. What is the nutritional goals and why it is important? So whatever the product we are taking, whatever the food we are taking, okay, if it is good into the nutrition, it will provide the best health to us and better functionality of our body. Okay, and if we are not taking into the proper quantity or proper quality, it will affect our health. Okay, so the quality intake allows you to function at your best and promotes the health. Intake that provides adequate level of each nutrition and quantity of intake that promotes a healthy body weight. Okay, so you can see in our country we have one different projects. If you go into the public health project programs, what we are running nowadays, especially into the remote areas or schools of India, government schools, that is your midday meal school program. Why we are doing to overcome with malnutrition. Okay, to overcome with the different type of nutritional deficiencies into the students. Okay, so what happens, the poor people who cannot afford food, so we can attract by running such kind of programs, we are attracting those students to the school, so they are coming to the school for the meal. Okay, so we are giving them food also, and same time we are giving them education also, so they can have a better future in coming generation. Okay, or in coming life. So this certain kind of programs we are running into the different areas. Other than that, we have related to this Anganwadi services or Anganwadi health workers. Okay, what is the function of these? So they are, taking care of pregnant females and prescribing them or giving them, the initial consultations or diet related, things, so they can, get a proper nutrition when the females are getting pregnant. Okay, so these are the different, health programs or health, I can say, basically programs only, different health programs we are running into our country. Other than this, we have, if I talk about related to other health programs, so again we have a lot small programs related to different areas we are running related to the requirement of that particular area or society. Okay, so energy into the body, from where? So body use the energy yielding nutrients to fuel all activities. Okay, so I initially Abhishek told key, glycogenesis and glyconeogenesis. So what happens? See, whatever the food we are taking, we extract the carbohydrate, the glucose part, C6H12 O6 from there. And what happens, that is the simplest part of glucose which take part into the Krebs cycle, and there it will convert into different part, different, in the presence of different enzymes, it will convert it into 5 carbon compound, 6 carbon, from 6 to 5, 3, 4 to, and it will release, at different stages it will release ATP, okay, and NADPH. Okay, from there we are, getting energies. Okay, so that is again a different process. Okay, so if more energy is ingested, if we are taking more amount of energy, okay, and it will be not used by the human body, or whatever the amount of, what happens, that energy will be stored into the form of fat or adipose tissue, and causes overweight or disease condition. Okay, so excess of anything will definitely leads to disease condition. Okay, so the chronic health issues, if I talk about associated with diet, will be your heart diseases, hypertension, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and osteoporosis. Okay, so these are the chronic health issues. Chronic health issues means the certain diseases that will, having over a longer duration of time. Certain diseases, like for example, if you had a food poisoning, what happened? Okay, one day before or 2 day before, you had certain, food that is not good, or the quality of food is not good, or it is not that much good, and when you take that food, and it will cause different disease condition into the body, like food poisoning or something like that. So that is a, acute phase of disease condition. But chronic, what happens? Over a period of time, we are, practicing the wrong practices related to our body health or related to our nutrition, and it will finally give certain serious disease condition. And here are the list of those, diseases. Okay, for example, if I am taking one day extra amount of sugar into my diet, it will not affect, but over a period of last 5 years, 6 years, or 10 years, I'm daily eating a chunk of sugar, what happens? At the end of the day, I'm getting diabetic. Okay, I'm suffering from type 2 diabetes. Okay, again, same thing happens if you see into the heart diseases. What happens? Like nowadays, we are seeing a lot of disease condition, like initially, if I talk about heart disease or something, so hypertension is very common in younger generation also, like the kids are into the 18 or 20s, early teenage or 20s, they are suffering from hypertension. Why this is happening? Just because of sedentary lifestyle. Okay, so sedentary lifestyle is again responsible for serious disease condition into human body. So again, if we are taking that amount of food, we need to work out, we need to burn that energy, we need to burn that excess amount of energy by carrying out different types of activities. Otherwise, what we need to do, we have to reduce the amount of calories we are taking, we have to reduce the amount of fat we are taking. Okay, if we are not doing properly workout, then we have to reduce the amount. Okay, So we need to create a balance. Okay. So now coming to science of nutrition. So epidemiological studies, if I talk about like disease condition, if we talk like, epidemiology is, the cause of any disease, why this disease is happening. So when we study the population into that particular area and correlation we find out between their diet and practices and what kind of health they are having. So we have found different things. Okay, what is that? So when we study the epidemiological thing, what we have seen ki certain people are eating the food, but they are still, not having a good body or not, we find different kind of, deficiency into them. Like, especially one of the common thing, if I talk about like a country like India, the females are anemic. Why it is so? Or we are taking milk every day, but still we are suffering from different types of bone diseases, or I can say level of arthritis, we can say, or osteoporosis is very common. Why it is so? We are taking with calcium from the milk, but is that calcium is utilized by the body? Is we that calcium is absorbed by the body? So to work that calcium or stored into the different part of bone, vitamin D is important. So are we taking that amount of vitamin D? So from where we should get that vitamin? Either from the fish sources or animal sources, or either from this sunlight. Okay, so where sunlight is good, so early sunrise and late sunset, these two amount of sun rays are rich into vitamin D. If you are moving into the daytime and sitting into the sun for 15 minutes, that time you are getting more of ultraviolet rays. But if you're early sun, when it is like sunrises, so in Indian culture, we had a practices of Surya Namaskar and all those things. Why it is so? So in that time, it will take you 15 minutes. When you do a proper Surya Namaskar, it will take a proper 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So that time is enough to absorb the vitamin D from to your body. Okay. So when we do into all these kind of epidemiological studies related to every disease, what we find out the correlation, okay, how that nutrition is going to affect your health in your day-to-day life. Okay, so now we need to find out what is the essential element and what is the non-essential element. Like I told you in starting of this lecture, there are certain amount of things which is very important. Like if you are fasting for 2 days or 3 days, what you are seeing, your carbohydrate amount is decreased, your energy level is decreased. Okay? So the people who fast for few days or for 1 day also, we can see their BP fluctuates, their functionality, or they feel, very energyless, or, they're very weak at that part. Why it is so? Because the requirement of carbohydrate, their body, for the functionality, proper functionality, we are not providing that amount. Okay. So on the basis of all these correlations or all these researches, we have divided certain things into the non-essential nutrition and certain things into the essential nutrition. Okay, so non-essential nutrition, like a body can make from the other nutrients. Okay, so those nutritional things which we can make from other, like your cholesterol or some amino acids. Okay, and essentials. Or essential nutritions which we need to take on daily basis. Okay, so we have performed certain tests or lab tests on the basis of experimental studies, like we do into the laboratories and created a same environment which our body is providing, and on the basis of those environment we do certain tests, or that laboratory tests, like and we when we are performing. So that is called as in vitro studies. Okay, that is in vitro studies are like basically the living tissues are present into the test tubes, or and we created a human body like environment, and on the basis of that we create do our performances or tests, and then we get the result. Okay, so the analyzation of those results, conducting and creating the hypothesis and everything. Okay. So now coming to the six classes of nutrition, that is your essential categories. There's your carbohydrate, fats and oils, proteins, vitamins, minerals, and waters. Okay. So from one of the researches which we have done, Healthy People 2020, from there what we have seen, limited calories intake to meet the calories need. Okay. So all Americans should avoid unhealthy weight gains. Those who have weighted too high may also need to lose weight. Okay. So I told you like why the intermittent fasting is very good enough, or the responses of these type of fasting is good, because what happens ki, for example, when I'm taking my diet, okay, I'm taking too much of diet. For example, my daily requirement of calories is like 200. From 1 gram of 1 gram of this carbohydrate, I can provide work like 4 calories or 2.5. Varies between the different people or what kind of food we are taking. So it's like 2 to 4 calories we are getting from that 1 gram of carbohydrate. So what happens ki we are taking like 2 meals or 3 meals in a day, and from there rest 16 hours we are working from the stored fat. So what we are doing, we are breaking that stored fat, that stored adipose into the carbohydrate and utilizing that. So this is how we are losing the weight. Okay. So what happens, or other we can do, how what is the other method? Other method is ki if we are, our calories level is balanced but we need to work out more, so we can burn the excess calories, or over the period of time we will reduce the weight. Okay, so weight reduction, or if you're overweight, it is not a one day process, it is a something that is very long
careful.
run. Okay.
वो घुटने का बोल रहा हाँ लिटरली मेरे घुटने का बड़ा बुरा हाल हो गया मैं घुटनों की एक्सरसाइज करके ना चलो
so
मजबूत कर दूं नहीं नहीं और वो कॉड लिवर ऑयल खाया मेरे को अभी वही
so
पढ़ा रहे बैलेंस डाइट न्यूट्रिशन वगैरह क्या क्या खाना चाहिए तुम्हारे कितने बजे चलना है क्लास 8 बजे कर देंगे 8 तो बज गए अभी हो जाना चाहिए नहीं मैं
so now coming to diet and health. So basically today we are going to have a basic framework of what is a diet, and gradually we are going to move. Okay, so diet, if I talk about what is a diet, so the fragment of or the amount of food which we are consuming for day to day working functionalities. So the quantity of your daily diet affects the risk of a chronic disease. I told you, like for example, if you're taking daily like I told you ki how the small intestine obstruction usually happen in common because these kids are not prone to eat chapatis, not prone to eat for longer duration. They are not into they are more towards ki we should eat pizza, we should go for maggie, we should go for pasta. So what happens, the pasta and everything, the nutritional value, they are made up of maida. So these are very fine grained substance. So what they are going to deposit into the different layer of your intestine, and at the end they causes certain kind of obstruction. Okay. So that is very common in nowadays. Second thing, if I talk about like why hypertension is going on. So if you're taking too much of unhealthy diet, like your this carbo I can say fried food items you are, or deep fried we are eating, or too much of oily product we are eating. So what happens, it will definitely cause a certain amount of deposition of cholesterols into your veins, into your different arteries, and what happens if the arteries diameter, they are depositing into the particular diameter. So what happens, the total diameter of flow of blood, the blood flowing through that particular, what happens, definitely going to decrease. So the pressure increase, that is your hypertensive state. Or second thing, what happens ki, you know thrombosis is what, any cut happens, so clot formation is there. Okay, so that clot deposited, so again it will reduce the diameter, so the flow to that particular area will definitely increases. So again it will cause, these different type of infarcts and all heart related conditions. Okay, so again if we are taking everything into the balance condition, or I told you like I'm taking too much of sugar in my day to day life, so what happens over a period of time, like into 5 years or into coming 4 years, definitely I'll be diabetic. Okay, so balanced diet is very important. You should take a sugar also. You should take, because sugar, if I talk about like carbohydrates, they are also known as sugars. Why they are known as sugars? Because they are sweet in taste. Okay, and giving instant energy. Okay, so somehow we are getting sugars from different carbohydrate products also, but the sugar we are taking into the form of sweets, into the form of you know different types of sweets or fruits, it will additional to that. Okay, so try to avoid that, or if you are using that, then you need to work out accordingly. Okay, so the food choices you make daily have a great impact on your health somehow in overcoming period of time. Okay, so now you can understand how it is going to impact your this your health. So, like you make, we have done, different analysis and different observational studies. If you go, just go and check the researches or whatever the material present on the internet. What happens, you can see, like the people in US, they are, suffering from colon cancers, rectal cancers. Why it is common? Why it is so common? Because of their food. What kind of food they are? Basically, they are taking, breads. They don't have any systems, and whatever the, if you coming to this or heart diseases, everything is why there is common, because they're eating processed food. Okay, and living sedentary lifestyle. So these two things are definitely going to impact on their health. So from there we can understand what kind of diet will affect your health. Okay, so again if we go into this Japanese culture, or we check into their health system, what we found ki their average life of a human is like 100 to 95 or 98 years. Why it is so? Because of their diet, their lifestyle. They are so disciplined. They their work balance, their lifestyle, everything is so balanced. That's why the Japanese people have in present world scenario, they had a maximum life, human life, average life, if I talk about, and as compared to rest of the world. Okay, so the incidence of the breast cancer is much lower in Japan than US, and diet in Japan is rich with different kind of fibers. If you go into the breast cancer, the fibers are very important. Why? Because breast cancer is how it happens. Basically, the too much deposition of fats will accumulation will seen, or any kind of trauma that leads to that. Okay, so and if we go into the US, so diet is very low in fibers. So these are the two reasons why the people in US is having your this. Okay, so compared to the health and lab values of the two groups between their diet changes and so now we are, you can I don't know if you people are but when we are studying, or basically I'm from masters in public health, so we do experimental, a lot of experimental studies into our, to have a proper impact of studies and what is the correlation. That is our basic thing. Epidemiology is our basic things. Okay, so we do certain kind of, analysis basically. So we do dash dietary analysis where we check for the daily requirement and what kind of food we, and we check what kind of lifestyle that person is living. Okay, I'll show you. Wait a minute. I'll show you. sorry guys, that is presented with me. It will be presented in the form of PPT. Next class, I'll try to convert that into the form of this PDF so I can share with you. Okay. So right now, I'm not share this into PPT over here. Okay. So let's continue. So what we used to do, basically, we do different type of age group analysis and their diet requirement, and there we can easily find out ki what is the impact. Okay, if we are giving like we divided 4 categories of people. In one we are giving the very rich this very healthy diet. Other group of people we are giving for example, we have reduces their amount of carbohydrate along with their a little bit of their protein, and then we see so on the basis of that we get the different analysis result, and we see how it is going to impact their health over the period of time and how they are going to reduce their weight and everything. Okay. So this we have already studied. Okay. So I told you ki carbohydrate is made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and I told you ki 1 gram of this carbohydrate gives 2.5 to 4 calories of energy to the body. So that's what it is written over here. 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate we are getting. Okay. So body primarily sources of energies use whatever the carbohydrates we are using from the body is whatever the form we are getting, whether we are taking into the maltose is basically, or we are getting in the form of galactose or lactose, and further it is converted into the form of glucose. In case of kids, what we are seeing, they are taking in the form of glucose in the form of lactose. Milk containing products are rich in lactose. Okay, so that lactose is further break down into the glucose and they are utilizing. Okay, so for the proper functionality of brain, for the proper functionality of a human body, the carbohydrate is very important. Okay, and it will take like 12 to 24 hours from when we are eating from there to break down to utilization, and it will stored into your livers and muscles. I told you the excess amount of carbohydrates is stored into the form of, or excess amount of fat is stored into your muscles, and whenever we need, whenever we are lacking that carbohydrate, we are not taking from external source, so from there it will break down. Okay, and utilize. Okay, so that is glyconeogenesis process will take place. Okay, so the conduction experiments, tests and predictions where we design and do performance. Okay, then other than this we have the energy density, means ki per calories per gram of food, and what is the highest energy density to a group of people or to age group of people we are getting. Okay, so again, and there are certain food amount of food, for example, like every carbohydrate product. If I talk about like initially if someone is sick, so what we give initial energy giving product is glucose. Okay, if someone is fainted, what we have to do, we give them certain amount of chocolate. So what is that? It will highly fastest route and fastest mode, okay, how it will provide energy will also affect. Okay, so the food with high energy density provides more calories than the lower density of the food. So again, this thing is if we are needing energy, okay, so what is the food and how we are getting that food, from which source we are getting that food, and how instantly it will provide energy to the body. Okay, so on the basis of that, we divided energy density food, high energy density food and low energy density food. Okay. So if I talk about like scientific methods which we follow into the studies related to the diet is your observational hypothesis, test hypothesis, prediction. That is a part of your public health. You can skip. Okay. Let's check into the, now coming to another, just have a quick review related to whatever the dietary supplements we have studied. I'll share the another PPT and we will have a look. Okay. Okay. So just we have studied what is carbohydrates. So simple carbohydrates are also called sugar, and they give quick energy because body can turn them into the glucose very quickly, as we have discussed. Okay, now the fibers is your roughage. Okay, so the different types of carbohydrate that body cannot digest. Okay, and not a source of calories, but it will help to absorb the unwanted toxins out of the body. Okay, so whatever that we are eating, there are certain kind of toxins produces or as the product of this or byproduct of this chemical process which going or the metabolism. So these roughage will help out to move out from these toxins from the body, and also prevent the building up of cholesterol fat that increases the chances of heart diseases. Like I already explained you how it is going to affect. So these fibers can help to reduce this cholesterol fat. Okay, then fat. 30% of fat is important into the diet. It is not if fat is so causing this, so we should not take. If you're not taking these, fat into your diet, you will suffer from different type of joint, diseases where immobility diseases or stiffness happens. Okay, so the fat is is high energy but harder to break down. So body use them after depleting the carb source. The fat is also needed to absorb certain vitamins. Okay, so fat, I told you there are two types of vitamins. One is your fat soluble, another is your water soluble. So those who are fat soluble, they will absorb with the fat. Okay, vitamins and minerals. So minerals are needed to build and maintain our cells to release the energy from the micronutrient. Vitamins, sorry, and minerals are the inorganic and found into the food system and used in maintaining our body systems. Calcium hardens the bone. Electrolytes or salts used to transmit the certain nervous signals. Okay, so if I talk like nerve transaction, for example, आपने रिफ्लेक्स आर्क मैकेनिज्म पढ़ा होगा, जैसे कि आपने कभी देखा कि फायर इज कमिंग, तो व्हाट हैपेंस कि बॉडी का रिस्पॉन्स होता है कि आपका फिंगर वहां से या वो पर्टिकुलर बॉडी पार्ट आप वहां से हट जाते हैं, क्योंकि आपको पता है कि दैट पर्टिकुलर फायर विल कॉज हार्म टू यू. So why this happens? Because of there are certain if you go into the mechanism, so आपका nervous system जो होता है, reflex arc जो होता है, वो work करता है. And how this reflex arc works? With the help of different types of these सोडियम एंड पोटेशियम चैनल्स और कैल्शियम चैनल्स होते हैं जो आपके ये नर्व ट्रांसडक्शन मैकेनिज्म में हेल्प करते हैं, सिग्नलिंग मैकेनिज्म में हेल्प करते हैं. तो वो ब्रेन को सिग्नल देते हैं कि यार ये चीज आ रही है एंड ये तो हमें हार्म करेगी. तो ब्रेन रिफ्लेक्स आर्क से तुरंत दूसरे नर्वस सिस्टम को आपका मैसेंजर को भेजता है कि अब एक्शन लो एंड रिमूव दिस पार्ट, तो यू विल वर्क अकॉर्डिंगली. ओके, सो this is how. Okay, this minerals are very important. Okay, आपका electrolyte balance है या बहुत सारी functionalities में these are very important. Iron is also needed in blood types and carry the oxygen. If you had a basic idea, कि वन हीमोग्लोबिन, अगर ऑक्सीजन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन की मैं बात करूं इन जनरल, तो आपका एक हीमोग्लोबिन 4 ऑक्सीजन मॉलिक्यूल से बाइंड करता है. अगर आप इसका स्ट्रक्चर देखेंगे, और वो ऑक्सीजन मॉलिक्यूल क्या करता है, आपका हीमोग्लोबिन मॉलिक्यूल 4 ऑक्सीजन को बाइंड करके और वो डेस्टिनी जो भी टिश्यू है या जो भी सेल है वहां पे उसको रिलीज करता है, और वो फिर उसको यूटिलाइज करके अपना फंक्शन कैरिड आउट करते हैं. ओके, so too many or too few calories. Our weight is affected by your calories intake. Definitely, आप बहुत ज्यादा खाना खा रहे हैं, ठीक है, एंड आप वर्कआउट नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप उस कैलोरीज को बर्न नहीं कर रहे, डेफिनेटली वो आपको ओवरवेट करेगा. ठीक है, अब आपका सेकंड चीज क्या है कि आपका इनटेक जो है ज्यादा है बट आप वर्कआउट भी कर रहे हैं, तो आपका क्या है कि वो चीज बैलेंस्ड रहता है, आपका वेट बैलेंस्ड रहेगा. तो यू हैव सीन कि सेम डाइट सेम थिंग हम दो लोगों को दे रहे हैं, बट दोनों का बॉडी रिस्पॉन्स में एक का देखते हैं कि बॉडी एकदम लीन एंड थिन है, दूसरे का जो है ओवर वेट है. वाइट बिकॉज ऑफ देयर एक्टिविटी, ओवर एक्टिव होगा एक बंदा, दूसरा वाला sedentary lifestyle जी रहा होगा. So that's what it will impact. Okay, so our weight is affected by our calories intake. If we burn more calories than we take it, we loses weight. If we take more calories than we burn each day, we will store excess fat in our adipose cell. Okay, so this is how we are going to get weight. Okay, so exit pass. Show some what you learn by writing at least one fact. So you learn from today's lessons following things like you can use any kind of things for your day-to-day record. Basically, if I talk about whatever we study, if we go and check that, so आप एक रिटन नोट्स बना सकते हैं अपना हैंड नोट्स एंड उस चीज को प्रॉपर वे में रिकॉर्ड कर सकते हैं. तो नाउ टुडे व्हाट वी हैव स्टडीड in today's lecture is basically your carbohydrates, your macronutrients, your micronutrients, your minerals, waters, and calories. Just make a notes related to that, and whenever we are coming for the class, and it will be very helpful. Okay. Now coming to next part is your nutrition and health. If I talk about your physical health relies on getting a proper balanced food. Okay, so from starting we are talking about what is the balanced food, what is the nutrition. So in body, whatever the food amount we are taking is directly depending upon what kind of lifestyle you are living, what kind of work style you are taking. So lifestyle depends upon how much amount of sleep you are taking, how much amount of exercise you are taking, and what is your day-to-day requirement of nutrition. So these three things will decide your nutrition and health. So for proper balanced health, we need to have a proper sleep cycle, we have a proper exercise cycle, and same times we have proper food. For example, certain people, what happens कि आज तो हमने 12 बजे lunch के, next day we are taking that food at 4 p.m. So what happens कि body को तो हम 4 दिन से 12 बजे खाना दे देते हैं, अब 12 बजे हमारे केमिकल्स रिलीज होना शुरू हो गए, but today we are giving that food at 4 p.m. So what happens? Excessive secretion of chemicals, and जो stored food था उससे energy derive किया, अब जो additional हम 4 बजे खाने दे रहे हैं, what happens? It will stored. So again, cycle is also very important in case of nutrition. कि आपको fixed timings में body alarm system होता है, biological clocks होता है, उनके according if you maintain that particular cycle, it will be very helpful. Okay. So I am ending this lecture over here, and in next class we are going to keep the things over the macronutrients, micronutrients, and diet. Okay? So in next class we are going to start from the diet. Okay, and after that we will go for different apps. Okay. Okay. Any doubts related to today's class? So today we have just covered the basics. Okay. Next class we are going to just make a note for yourself. Okay.